Arsenal 5, Manchester City 1. Arsenal crushed Manchester City with 4 second-half goals. You spoke, Jim, the other week of Manchester City players playing for a bit of pride. Did you see any of that at the Emirates?
for short periods in the first half when Arsenal sort of forgot what's been happening, I think.
Yeah. That rare save in the first half was absolutely delicious.
I was at the game and I was right near that, and I've never seen such a good save in the flesh.
He played a massive part in this game because obviously, you know, the scoreline is what it is, and obviously Arsenal scored early on, but it potentially becomes a different game. He made 2 big saves in the first half there. One of them from a really wicked deflection, and it sort of was a game of deflections, and Raya stood up really well to that. But, you know, Arsenal have been sort of crying out for a bit of ruthlessness recently. I've spoken about it a few times on this show, that they've been making chances, but they've not been putting them away. But they were absolutely devastating yesterday in that second half in particular. And I've never done the Poznan before. That was enjoyable.
Oh, right.
That's
a full piss take, that.
What a dig.
Full piss take.
Miles Lewis-Skelly was a full piss take as well.
Yeah, goodness, the context of that, for those who don't remember, was when he came on against Man City in the at the Etihad earlier in the season. Haaland sort of bumped into him and said, "Who the fuck are you?" So there's a bit of response to that.
And also, he told them to stay humble, didn't he? Famously?
He did, yeah.
So when Lewis Kelly did the Haaland celebration. Do you remember when Lewis Kelly came on in that game? He was on a booking.
He was, yeah.
Do you know why?
It was something because he was at the side of the pitch doing something or other.
He was encouraging David Raya to stay down injured. He may only be a teenager, but my goodness, what a little shit
proper
house.
shit house.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
and I'll tell you what, Luke Moore, I just want to sort of glance at the bigger picture.
Oh, here we go.
He's going to be dynamite at the World Cup, isn't he?
I wondered how long it's going to be before you were going to start talking about
Come
that.
on.
It's earlier than even I thought.
Yeah, I know.
Good point, actually.
It took me a while.
Next month, International Football's back.
Oh my God.
Well, I think you know, there's going to be players who come through who are going to probably be looked at, but we don't know, do we? I'm not talking about that now.
Why not?
Stop it.
So
the World Cup's not important.
I was at the game and I found it, as a neutral, a very interesting affair. And Jim, bless you, Pete.
Sorry, I'm allergic to the World Cup chat. Too early.
Naughty.
And Jim alluded to it there, but what I found fascinating about it was that Arsenal clearly came out absolutely flying. And if you didn't see the game, they obviously scored very early, but they scored again pretty much straight after that, which is ruled out for offside. And they had kind of sort of several chances. Then they seem to do what I find Arsenal doing quite a lot, which is playing the game overly slowly and really almost like deliberately slowing the game down, which must obviously be a tactic. But what it actually did is it further emboldened Man City for about half an hour.
Yeah.
Like they seemed to, I'm not saying Arsenal were in danger or anything like that, but they seemed to be content to let Man City have the ball. And I've seen Man City live under Pep Guardiola a bunch of times. I don't know how many times, 5, 6, 7 times maybe. This is the first time I've seen them be played against in the flesh, where the other team, I just got no fear factor of them whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was totally gone. And what then happened was at half time, I was chatting to a mate I was with and some people around me. I could hear them talking. And the general feeling where I was it's 1-0. We can't let this slip. We can't go and not make this count. Like I hope we don't regret this in the second half, right? And then City score.
And it felt like it had been coming, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And then it made me think of almost a carbon copy of what happened with Chelsea against Man City. Chelsea score early, they have a chance to go 2 ahead, don't take it, and they end up getting beaten. And then it was almost like Arsenal, like as soon as Man City scored, Arsenal were like, well, we're not having this. That's it. And they went. And once they went, again, in an evening or afternoon of firsts for me, I've never seen a Man City team so incapable of responding against, admittedly, another good team. They had nothing. They were done. Totally done.
I think part of it is, as you've alluded to, teams aren't scared of them now. So at 2-1, Arsenal smelt blood. At 3-1, they stepped on the neck. You know, it was like it was very clear that this is here to be like fun. Like actually an enjoyable afternoon, which is such a rare thing against City.
I haven't seen the disallowed offside goal in the first half.
He was miles off.
Was he? Okay, fine. Yeah. So it wasn't.
I think it should have counted, but he was miles off.
But they also had. I mean, Havertz missed a ridiculous.
Oh my God! Yeah, I had a good or terrible view of that, depending on how you feel about it.
From a personal point of view, I was pleased he got his goal. He's what happens at Arsenal. Again, those listening who haven't been to the Emirates
stays at Arsenal.
They list the players, and I personally think the Arsenal fans can be quite brutal with the level of cheer for a player. Like, so they'll list the team, and every time as a player listed, cheer, right? People, I guess, probably after a week or two of bad form or whatever it's been, people didn't really cheer Havertz, and it felt like he's a sort of player that might affect him. He misses that chance. I was just from a personal point of view, I was delighted that he managed to score later. It couldn't have gone better for Arsenal. You've got Lewis Skelly, who's been brilliant. He gets a goal. Nwaneri comes on and gets a goal and looked really good.
What's Ortega doing for that? I know
he didn't even die. He didn't even move. It
looked. I think from one camera angle, it looked very savable. But it did have a lovely chip on it. It did have a lovely sort of movement in the air. Wow.
Could it be that it's like 90 minutes is up? I'm done now.
Yeah. They get paid extra for this. Yeah. I've already conceded 4, so I'm not getting a clean sheet bonus anyway.
Just quickly on the Havertz thing, he has actually been getting a really, really loud reaction recently in terms of his name being read out. But I think, weirdly, it might possibly be that the crowd don't feel like he needs a boost now. So I think generally with him specifically,
he needs a boost.
he's had a lot of support in.
I felt sorry for old Neto as well when he got read out on the pitch. No one said anything.
Oh.
It was like the Royal Rumble at the weekend where you got and then someone comes out and people go, oh goodness, it's that person.
Yeah.
And N'Golo Kante got name checked
in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, very confusing. No, he wasn't in the Royal Rumble.
Who won it? Spoiler.
He did all right, I think.
I'm not telling you because people want to watch it.
Yeah, I want to see it.
So a lot of our listeners like wrestling.
Was it Brutus the Barber Beef?
It was Brutus the Barber Beef.
Okay, right.
It was the honky tonk.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake should not have scissors in that environment. Very, very dangerous.
He shouldn't have that.
I also want to spare a line for Declan Rice.
Yes,
who was
he was phenomenal.
He is an incredible player. He's like Ed Sheeran. He's everywhere. What? Like you can't. You watch a game of football when you turn the radio on, or you get in the car, or you turn the telly on for a period of time. I don't know how many years ago it was. Ed Sheeran was just everywhere.
Right.
You couldn't get away from him. You try watching a game and not look at Declan Rice; it's impossible. He's all over the pitch.
You've explained that comparison, and I get it. I'm still unhappy with it though.
If you want to dislodge a pair of trainers that's over a telephone line, you would get him to do it, to kick a ball there, wouldn't you? Because he's the most accurate deliverer of a ball.
Oh, that ball for I think it was the 4th or the 5th. I think it might have been the 5th goal.
Winieri, the crossfield one.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Now,
yeah.
He's such a good player,
and he put in some big tackles as well on a day where that was necessary.
Yeah. It was an all round. It couldn't have gone better for Arsenal. It really couldn't.
Yeah, it really couldn't. I think as well, actually, I've been thinking sort of before this game that despite where they are in the table, both domestically and in Europe, there is still a sense that we maybe haven't quite seen the best of this team yet because it's been disrupted a lot in terms of the consistency of personnel and stuff. And hopefully this is the start of a run where they do turn the screw and they can be a bit more dominant and again a bit more ruthless, score more goals, make life a bit easier for themselves, especially now the kind of fixtures are dropping off a bit. But yeah, it was a massive performance because if they hadn't won this game, then we're having a very, very different conversation now.
Yes. Can we talk about Man City?
Yeah, I thought they were unbelievably sloppy. Like almost incredibly sloppy in their passing under no pressure.
I don't understand it. Look, they're not going to bounce back.
No, apparently
they're not going to
not.
get back to it. I'm scratching my head watching that City performance, and it's so unlike them.
Yeah.
Is it bollocks? I've had enough of this, right? How much more evidence do you need?
Dear.
Pep Guardiola, Peter.
He gets so aggressive. He's like it's a spurned man in a bar.
Pete's
You're ugly.
Marcus, Pete's intimidated by your alpha male.
I think that is it, yeah.
It's the energy that he brings to a Pep Guardiola team.
I like it. I'm happy to be the Richard Hammond to your Jeremy Clarkson.
Peter, the supplements are working for him, though, aren't they?
You're definitely James May.
Weirdly, I don't think it's that bad.
No.
It's all right,
called myself Richard Hammond.
All right, Peter, I want you to look at me in the eye while I say this.
Okay. Which one? Can I get to choose?
Left or right?
You're at least a left eye, are you?
It's quite different.
Yeah. Pep Guardiola had the look of a man on the touchline thinking, I shouldn't be here. I should be looking at Miles Lewis-Skelly thinking, can't wait to pick him next month.
Yeah. He's probably looking at Miles Lewis-Skelly going, I'm going to talk to him after the game.
I'm going to
play him.
What can you possibly tell me about football?
Yeah.
I've just got a beauty.
Look, I get what you're saying about Man City. The fear factor's gone and all that. Absolutely. And
it's not just that, though, is it?
No, it isn't. It's across the team. Akanji, make it like just where's the bite? Look at Foden giving the ball away.
And
this
Foden
is so
was
sloppy.
Anonymous in that game as well. He's had good form recently.
They're playing like a newly promoted side trying to find their feet in the Premier League at times. But again, when Haaland scores, don't be surprised if they put in a decent performance every now and then, or they win against Chelsea or something, because they've got a ridiculously good squad. Look at that team that played against Arsenal. That's full of massive players who know how to win things and have won things. So this idea that because of if they get Rodri back and so on, I keep saying it. Guardiola, hindsight's it's easy for me to look at someone else's career and start saying he should have done this and he should have done that. So that's why I'm going to do it. I felt at the time it should have left in the summer. I'll be surprised if he's there beyond the summer. Only because of what he's done could keep him there. But if you want the full and proper rebuild and making, 3 signings in the January transfer window coming into this, that's not a rebuild. The rebuild needs to happen really in the summer. You'll need to get rid of one or two or move on one or two players who have been fantastic servants for the club, blah, 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 blah. And you'll need to have a huge spend. You're talking into the hundreds of millions probably, because they know Man City have got the money and they'll hold them to ransom. And I just think you'll need someone else at the helm to do that. Guardiola and co, they'll want another crack at it and so on. We shall see. But you just saw this game. This is coming from the coach. Guardiola, the reason why he's one of the best coaches of all time, is because of the way he gets everybody to buy into what he's doing.
Yeah.
He winds everybody up in a good way, I mean, and he keeps everybody on their toes. Everybody's involved. So from when the starters to the subs who come on, everybody knows exactly what to do, and they are machine-like. That is not happening. You can't blame that on just injuries. You can't blame that on, he's a bit tired. This is coming from the coach. He looks bewildered on the touchline. 5-1. Absolutely hammered.
First time he's lost by 4 goals as a manager, full stop.
I mean, it's just, this is, again, the only comparison that we have, or the only reference point we have is that final season at Barcelona, which wasn't like this. And I understand Man City are still in the mix for Champions League spots. Yeah. Okay, and they're still in the Champions League, so they could pull something out the bag, but I just don't think they will, because their identity as a team, the way that they have been playing under Guardiola and whatnot, that's just non-existent now.
And everyone wants to get at them as well. They've got a horrible run coming up where everyone has a wind in their sails.
But they were so exposed at times. But like I say, it's the sloppiness. And you can say, well, that can be tightened up. Well, when? We're into February now. And this has been going on for so long. To me, under Guardiola, they have to change it come the summer.
So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, everything you've just said makes a lot of sense. But it does feel very unlikely that Man City would sack him. And also, he has made noises about how he's not going to be a coach when he's 75. He's planning to have a relatively short career in terms of those managers that go on for a long, long time. But his legacy
People say stuff though, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, he also only used to sign like 1 year running contracts.
Sure, that's right.
He's been at City for ages.
This is a bit of an anomaly in his career, but it's the short sample size.
His legacy's amazing.
Oh,
completely. Is the point I'm trying to make. But so I can't imagine that he would want to go out on a season like this, which means he's probably is probably going to want to stay and try and course correct, but then that feeds into the exact issue that you're talking about. So it'll be very, very interesting come the summer. Do you think they'd ever sack him?
No, I don't think they'll ever sack him.
But going out on a season like this, as you say, doesn't really mean anything at the moment because the season's not over.
Fair.
They could finish fourth.
Yeah,
and they
could make it look
Champions League again.
Respectable.
They could limp to the semi-final of the Champions League, depending on the draw. Get one good result against next up against a really tough team, and then limp through.
I mean, they've got Real Madrid now, so even if they go out there's no shame in that, is there?
Exactly. They've also got the mighty Leyton Orient away in the FA Cup this week. So, but I felt that it was almost like quite surprising to watch how quickly they capitulated with no response. And I have to reiterate, at half time where I was sitting, that it was not like oh my God, Man City are terrible, we should be destroying them. It was like, we just need to make sure we make this count because this is there for us. Because they had given Man City so much the ball for the last half an hour.
But why is that? Again, Man City...
They didn't look in danger, but Man City have done games before, Marcus, where they have a load of possession without looking that threatening.
They had more possession in this game than Arsenal.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And that's the way to play them. If you want to beat this Manchester City side, you see what Arsenal did early on, and then in the second half, you go at them, you press them hard. Yeah. And in fact, Havertz deserves a lot of credit. His finishing lets him down, but everything else he does is exactly
Arsenal's
what you'd want.
Definitely.
Completely. You press them, and they shit themselves. Which is just not them. Yeah, this is what I mean. This is so surprising.
Another thing that I find really fascinating is this sort of attempt that I can only interpret as trying to make Bernardo Silva into a sort of Luka Modric type and having him play really, really deep in that midfield, and it just doesn't work. No. I think that's a big part of the problem and why they're much, much easier to play through. Arsenal won the midfield battle so comprehensively in the second half.
And to clarify what I said earlier, with regards to, say, Rodri. Obviously, if Rodri's there, they're a better team. But my point is that I think Guardiola, as we say, I keep referencing that last season at Barcelona, which seemed a long time ago now. it's kind of he's just desperately trying to chase after what they did before, and he can't find it. And I feel it's run its course. They would be better off if they didn't have an injury to that crucial player and maybe one or two others.
Yeah, you're right though. Both those things could be true at the same time.
Indeed. So yeah, but that's I think the reason why Arsenal, going back to the game, they just sit off them because you can't press that hard for 90 minutes. Nobody can do.
Yeah, have a little rest. That's totally
exactly. And you think, right, well, we'll just dig in because we know they're probably not going to cut us open, and then you go on the raids.
Yeah,
and that is where you're going to get an enormous amount of joy, and that is really the blueprint to beat them. Because if you just hurry them, you'll get chances. And as you say, there should have been more than one goal up.
And I think
when they needed to turn it on, yes, they got lucky with Partey's deflected winner. Arsenal were always going to win that game from where I was sitting.
And the last 15 minutes or so, where Arsenal pick up a couple more goals, it just seemed like City wanted the game to be over. Like it's a real going through the motions aspect to it. I would just. I mean, that's the game. I mean, the game was what it was, and we talked about that. What I was thinking on the way in from the match was that Arsenal probably they could have a really exciting next year or two if they can stay solid and stable. Add a couple of players in those obvious areas they need to strengthen in and stay injury free. A lot of ifs there, but that's really what you kind of would want to do. If you think that Man City, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we're speculating what's going to happen. I don't think anything you said there, Marcus, is kind of unreasonable. It all could come to pass, which definitely equals uncertainty. United are in massive trouble. Spurs are in trouble. Liverpool have got 3 of their key players possibly leaving the club in the summer in Alexander-Arnold, possibly even in January with Alexander-Arnold, Salah and Van Dijk. You can't overlook that. That's really 2 of the most important spine Liverpool have had in the Premier League era going, probably. And there's a massive opportunity there for us. Chelsea, you can't really trust them. You can't rely on them.
But Arsenal have got to make sure that next season, if indeed, say, Chelsea come up, Arsenal will go, but we finished second to the best team again. And that is the thing.
No, totally. I'm not trying to predict the future here. All I'm saying is if you line those big teams in the Premier League up,
you're right.
You say Arsenal could easily be, and probably already are, the most stable of those teams. And that is the platform you need to kick on and go forward.
Yeah, I mean, if Salah leaves Liverpool, that would be greeted very warmly, I think, in the red part of North London. Don't get me wrong.
They are a brilliant team, and he is making them elite. Like the part of their points total being so big is him, isn't it?
As we saw against Bournemouth.
Indeed. It's just a big opportunity.
Well, what was great for Arsenal, though, is the fact that when Liverpool, when they played Bournemouth were brilliant, as we know this season. That's what we've come to expect.
They just ghosted past them, really,
And Bournemouth, they hit the post, and then obviously Clivert has that chance in the second half and so on. And Bournemouth applied themselves. They went toe-to-toe with Liverpool. And another day they get something out of the game. Different to what Forest did. I know that the sides are very different and tactically that kind of matches up. But Bournemouth would have come off thinking, how on earth did we not get something out of the game? And Liverpool come off thinking, well done, lads.
Because Mo Salah.
Indeed,
exactly.
I mean, the second goal,
Clivert's got to equalise, hasn't he? But
but the fact is, though, again, it is the old cliche with the way Liverpool are playing is, they go to a side whose tails are up and played in a manner that was befitting of what they've done this season. So it wasn't as Bournemouth had an off day. Finishing wise, there was that chance. But Liverpool just do it, and Arsenal are praying that old David Moyes can conjure up something and do them a favour. But even if that is the case, it's still 6 points.
A lot to do.
Indeed,
and so
the goal difference is massive as well. So it's effectively 10 points.
But Arsenal
it's a big ask.
But Arsenal have just got to be perfect, and of course, beating Man City 5-1 is the kind of result that gets everybody encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got to be there. I don't think many people will think Liverpool will slip and Arsenal will be perfect, but Arsenal have got to be in the conversation.
I know we need to break, but just very quickly, the other observation I have from the game itself, I've never seen a player more content with not being involved as Erling Haaland. I'm not using that to criticise him. It must just be such a weird thing to play against.
Was he just enjoying Gabriel's chat, do you think?
Well, it's part of it, but I can remember I was consciously trying to observe when Haaland would touch the ball. He'd go like 25 minutes without touching the ball.
But wasn't that his strength the first time round?
Though? I think it kind of, weirdly, Pete, I think it kind of is still his strength. Because I think that he's not interested in going out wide and going. He's not interested really in going deep, finding the ball. He stays between the penalty area width, and he's always in the right position. And his movement in the penalty area is elite. And again, you see against Arsenal, he gets a goal.
Lovely header.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
9 touches he got.
Classic. Right, 9 touches in total. Not surprised to hear that. But if you're a defender, you probably have to continually tell yourself that he's not out the game. He's not useless.
Yeah.
Because if you were playing in a level that's not elite and you were playing up against a forward like that, after 15 15 minutes, you'll just think, well, he's not interested. I don't fucking need to worry about him.
Yeah.
But you really do need to worry about him all the time because every time he gets the ball, he fucking scores.
Yeah, I know.
It's a really interesting challenge.
It is. All right, coming up after this, Nottingham Forest were in 7th heaven.
To put Aston Villa 4-2 up against that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Japers tonight.
Brian Kerr saying jeepers there
Jeepers.
after Ollie Watkins missed his penalty against Celtic.
Some
Thanks.
miss, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can understand.
Slippity slip.
Yeah.
Didn't plant his foot, did he?
No, well,
Yeah.
if anything, he planted it too well on some not very good soil.
He planted it, watered it.
What is the fool? He puts his hand. He
Sand.
puts his house on sand, doesn't he? So he planted his house on sand.
What does the
there.
sensible man do? Builds his house on rock.
On the rock.
Which is confusing to me.
No,
because
you
can't-
think you think
can't
somewhere
really
in the
put
middle.
your
Wouldn't you?
foundation on a rock,
No,
can you?
exactly.
No, I
That's
don't think it's
why.
like perched on the top of a rock, as in you think about the floor.
You want soil to be digging foundations into, then you put your
That's
own rock
why
in.
New
Not in
York is so
those days.
vertical because it's all rock. It's
Yeah.
all very hard rock.
But you've got to remember the context in which it was said.
Yeah.
Thanks to friend of the Ramble, Paddy, for sending us that clip. You can become
Paddy.
a friend of the Ramble too by heading over to patreon.com/Football Ramble. You'll get access to the Discord where you can chat with us and other Ramble listeners and get ad-free episodes of the Ramble up front and on the continent, all for just $5 a month. And you'll get an extended version of every Wednesday Ramble. So to listen, just head to patreon.com/Football Ramble to sign up now. Nottingham Forest 7 brackets SEVEN. Brighton 0. Nottingham Forest responded well to their gubbing at Bournemouth, Peter. It's fair to say.
I don't think anyone saw that, and least of all the landlady of the Gedling Inn in Nottinghamshire, who offered a free pint for every time the Forest scored.
Oh, no!
The landlady.
How long did it take you to get there?
Well, she was. well, the landlady was quoted as saying,
Yeah. Seriously though, Pete.
Didn't say which game.
"No,
Seriously though, 3 pubs are closing every week.
Yeah.
So have a bit of respect.
well, she shouldn't have done it."
They've gone under now.
Foolish decisions.
Interesting
I mean,
that
nobody saw
Pete
this
is
coming.
always visiting them just before the close.
Yeah.
Empty the gamblies, get out of there. No, but like Brighton were
Put some
very.
drone music on the jukebox. Clear it out.
Brighton were very ponderous and slow at the back, and Forest just took full advantage of it. weren't they?
What seemed to be the case, I mean, it's an incredible performance by Forest, and Marcus, you're right to say what a bounce back that is. I mean, that's an incredible sign of a brilliant team, for sure. But Brighton, poor old Jack Hinchley on his own at the base of midfield. The other quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, midfielders were João Pedro and Jorginho Rutter, neither of whom are midfield
That's
players.
a
They're
really
basically
odd
wide
lineup,
forwards.
isn't it?
Yeah, and he's getting overrun over and over again. It took ages for Hertzler to change it.
Well, I think Hertzler's got in his own head here because there's Brighton are struggling to break teams down who sit deep, and it's been a bit of a problem for them at times this season. And I think he's overthought it and thought, right, let's just basically gut the midfield and put forwards in there. Forest like to hit on the break. Well, what we'll do is we'll just push them back so much. They just got beat by 5. Yeah, we should be okay. And my goodness, it was ill-advised, wasn't it?
I also thought that poor old Tariq Lamptey was run ragged at
He
left
was.
back. He's not a left back. Like he's not left-footed. I know he can play on paper both fullback positions, but he's quite a right-footed player, and he got caught out over and over again. I'm not surprised that they were beaten away at Forest. You know, Forest are a really good team. We've
That
seen
can
that.
happen, yeah.
But I was surprised at the intensity of it, the lack of change in it, and why Hertzler just didn't react anywhere near quickly enough, because the writing was on the wall, really. I know that, you know, half an hour in, you're 3-0 down, right? The game's gone when you're away from home, really. Change it. Just change
Well,
it.
I mean, you made a couple of subs at half
You
time.
made 3 subs at half time.
I mean, I suppose he might think that if you bring players off during the first half, that can be such a confidence sapper. And so
yeah, it is, but it's about man management. It's about being the leader, and it's about saying this is not working. This is my fault. It's not your fault.
but they
We've got
didn't
to change
concede after. I mean, they were 3-0 down, so you're saying he should have changed it then. I mean, if he changed it then at half time, it didn't matter. Forest scored 4 goals in that second half. You know, it was ridiculous. I mean, you know, and Chris Wood obviously among the goals because he's having the season of his life, one might say.
He's not even having the season of his own life. He's having the season of some other more talented striker's life.
just because he didn't do much at Newcastle.
Didn't do much at Newcastle.
But his
Could have done with
He
it.
helped Burnley go down, though, didn't he? Quite crucially.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. It wasn't about
First
that.
Forest player to score a top-flight hat-trick at the City Ground since Nigel Clough against QPR in
Just
1987.
lovely to hear his name.
It is.
what's really interesting about Wood, and you have been unfair to him there, Peter, and that's fair enough.
That's all right.
But what's really interesting about him, I think, is that if you look at, fair enough, he scored 17 Premier League goals. It's a brilliant return, amazing. He's been a huge part of what Forest have been able to do. But if you look at his statistics on how ruthless he is as a finisher, he hasn't actually taken that many chances to get that amount of goals.
Right.
And you wonder at 33 why this is suddenly happening.
Yeah.
Is it because it doesn't really make any sense? Because at Newcastle he didn't score many goals. It didn't really work for him.
It was coming though. You did feel like there was something there.
But you'd think
But
that,
the service he's getting this time, I mean, when Alanga's just putting him on
so
plates,
it's just a quality of chances.
Well, I think it's a perfect storm, isn't it? It's everything, and I'm using that in a positive way. Obviously, when you feel confidence around you, it builds your own confidence, and when you take a few chances, that can happen. But I mean, if you look at the other sides that he's played with in the Premier League, I mean, it's obviously Burnley was the one we were sort of looking at as well. But then there is that time he had at Newcastle.
He wasn't sort of in the team every week, was he, in Newcastle?
It was a funny sign.
and it was all about making sure that Burnley went down, wasn't it? That was the major reason why he was signed. But you could feel like he had quite a few chances that, one-on-ones, he was just kind of putting them into the keeper and stuff and flashing them past the post. He had chances, but he just kind of
But wasn't he?
He just seemed like he was off form.
Was he signed by Steve Bruce?
No, he was signed by
Eddie Howe, wasn't
Eddie
it?
Howe,
It was an early Eddie Howe
yeah.
signing.
Yeah. And it was a calculated, we need Burnley to go down situation, basically, because they're in a relegation fight.
Okay, so yes, so in the relegation, sorry, yes, but the hangover from Bruce was still there. So the sign.
Oh yeah, he's a very Brucey signing.
Yeah, but okay, fine. But the fact is, yes, they were in a relegation battle, so they had to play in a certain way to get out of that. And obviously, Howe made an impact, and he kept them up. But
it takes time.
It does take time, and I think that to build the confidence around them, they're in a relegation battle, all that kind of stuff. Whereas actually, this is the first time possibly that we've seen him playing for a team who are really expressing themselves.
I also think it's worth pointing out, just because what I was alluding to a second ago, is that there are players in the Premier League who've scored more goals than Wood. So Haaland and Salah have both scored more. Isak scored as many. But in terms of not just outperforming XG, but also the percentage of contribution to your team's goals overall, Chris Wood is quite a long way ahead of every other player in the Premier League.
Right,
But he has to be. I mean, you think about the goal he took against Liverpool.
Yeah.
Did they have any other chances really of note against Liverpool? And again, you can't underestimate how much confidence is for a centre forward. When you are told, right, you're the guy, you have to be clinical because we're going to play in a certain way, and we're Nottingham Forest, and it starts to go well, you believe in yourself. If you look behind you and your teammates are going, oh, don't worry, mate, you've got this, and you feel like, I think I do, just that. And also a very experienced striker as well, and he knows with a goal, there's all those kind of cliches. Balls are put on a plate with him, blah, 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 blah. It all goes into it. And it's wonderful to see it, because I think he comes across as a very likeable bloke, unless I'm missing something.
From New Zealand, they're all really nice.
Yeah, they're very inoffensive people, aren't they? And playing for Forest.
Inoffensive sounds bad, sounds boring. Sounds like he ain't got nothing to say.
Yeah.
I think he's a nice man.
Okay, well, you've been there, I haven't.
My experience in New Zealand is they're all very, very friendly.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And they are inoffensive. wouldn't you say?
They're quite simply better than Australians.
They are unfortunately suffering under the tyranny of Noel Edmonds at the moment, though.
That's true, actually.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, so Chris Wood presumably just pleased not to be there.
Yeah.
maybe.
Has Chris Wood become like a master craftsman at football now?
Yeah, I
Has
think
he
he
just
might
got to
have
the
done,
point where he's
Maybe that's
10,000 hours or whatever of football he's played? He's suddenly,
It does feel a bit like that, doesn't it? Like he just knows what to do in every situation now.
Could you say the same about Lewis Dunk? And I know that's harsh on Dunk, but he scored an own goal, and
He really needs Gareth Southgate to get another job.
He does.
Get a move.
He's second for the most own goals in Premier League history. He's on 7, obviously behind Richard Dunn.
Richard Dunn.
Richard Dunn is like,
Richard
come on.
Dunn, everybody.
Yeah, 10. Yeah.
Dunny's thinking, come on.
It's the Man City way. You see him yesterday.
It's Dixie Dean stuff, that. No one's getting that.
Oh dear. He's closing in on another record, which is more befitting for the man. The most appearances for Brighton. A player called Ernie Tug Wilson has the record. Don't ask why.
Pete, what does Ernie Tug Wilson look like, do you reckon? I'm thinking moustache.
I'm thinking moustache, kind of T-shirt that he's got free from a fishing shop.
Too small.
Yeah. Boots, big boots. Yeah, I like it.
I think when Ernie Tug Wilson played, they had fishing shops with T-shirts being sold. Man.
No. I thought you meant if he lived
If
now.
he lived now?
Well, yeah, he'd be
blowing
he'd be
the froth
hick.
of a couple of cold ones, wouldn't he?
Exactly, yeah.
In the pickup.
I feel sorry for Doug, though, because he did play for Bognor Regis Town and Bristol City on loan. That really besmirches like a long, nice one-man career, one club career. I don't like the loans.
But John Terry went on loan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
that's for me. I don't like him. I think it should be. I think if it was just a loan and it was under 10 appearances, it should be stricken from your record.
Terry played for Villa as well. He doesn't count as a one.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I forgot about that. I would also say, as someone who's from that part of the world, I would not wish a visit to Bognor Regis on anyone.
On anyone.
Butlins or no. Yeah. But what was it? If we were sitting here at the start of the season, and obviously our predictions and stuff. We'll probably tell that story anyway if you go back and listen to the show at the start of the season. That it's totally feasible that Nottingham Forest could finish second in the Premier League and Chris Wood could be the Premier League top scorer. It wouldn't have been that popular a take.
Well, I think but you could even add Forest and Bournemouth getting Champions League.
Yeah,
I said it earlier in the season. It's when you get really high on the on an arcade machine points wise, and it just starts to break down because it's confused.
Or you played Championship Manager for so long, Football Manager for so long,
just eats itself.
Something happens. Yeah.
Indeed. Have you seen that Brighton reportedly rejected a £75 million bid for Karim Matoma from Al Nassr?
Yeah,
who have just signed John Duran.
Not even Saudi money can impress Brighton. 75 million, that gets you Solly March on a 6-month loan. That's nothing.
They'll take that.
Nothing. Do you know who you're talking to?
Do they have PSR in Saudi?
Karim Matoma might, as we're recording this, literally be knocking Hertzler's door down after that game, saying, "Do you know what? I've heard the weather's lovely down there."
Didn't he lost a contact lens in the game, didn't he?
Right.
And just went off, and
Is
it
that what
didn't
they lost?
stop. I think that's part of it. Yeah,
that is it.
They lost, I think. Yeah.
Oh dearie me. Manchester United 0, Crystal Palace 2.
This is the good stuff.
This again.
Don't worry, Man United fans, we haven't forgotten you.
Do you still get a kick out of this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we all do, don't we?
Oh, because I don't know we're going to come on to this, but I was in the bar before the Arsenal game, and they've got the game on, and they were showing the Spurs game. Obviously, you're in that Arsenal environment. Everyone's disappointed the Spurs are actually winning, and I was personally enjoying the car crash that was Spurs. And I was like, oh, that's annoying. They scored the second goal late on, and they're going to win. That's not for us fans of the narrative. That's poor. That's a poor development. Flick it over. Oh, good. Man United.
They'll pick up the pieces.
There's the methadone.
Yeah, or drop the pieces.
There's the methadone to my
Jean-Philippe Mateta has now 6 goals in his last 5 games. He's having one of those little runs, Jimmy.
He is, yeah. I mean, it's 13 goals for the season now. I'm surprised, given the sort of global shortage of strikers, that his name's not been mentioned in more wicked whispers. But maybe that's something for the summer.
It's because Andy Brassel's poisoned the whole sport against him.
Andy gets annoyed if you say that Andy didn't. He said he didn't rate him or something.
He said. I'll tell you exactly what he said.
Go on.
We listed an exciting front 4 that Crystal Palace had at the time.
Yes.
Involving Elise, Eze, one to and Mateta, who at the time had been scoring a few goals, and Brassel. Very haughtily, I may add, said very, very continentally haughtily. if I may use 2 adverbs in a row, said Jean-Philippe Mateta is very lucky to be in there. Yeah, and then mentioned some kind of loan spell he spent at Bursaspor, where he was very disappointed. I don't know if he's played for Bursaspor. I made that bit up.
I understand.
But Brassel did say that.
Egg remains on Brassel's face.
I would also say, I mean, no, don't want to get too football cliches about it, but I mean, Old Trafford has become quite the happy hunting ground for strikers all over the country, hasn't it? So
and
it's
it
not
wasn't
like deserves any special credit for it.
It was hardly like a 30-mile raker as well. Like it was a bit of a tap in.
His second goal was like
first one.
His second goal though was last minute stuff, and it was like Man United always said to themselves, we are Man United, and we are at Old Trafford. We probably should try and get an equaliser. Did it in such a ham-fisted way that Mateta went out there ready to score anyway.
I'm so gutted that Fulham played them on the first day of the season. I'm just so pissed off.
I've now started to.
When it's St James's though is just a tonic though, Peter.
Oh, there we go. I've started to see Ruben Amorim in my mind as basically a kind of Frank Spencer character. But Old Trafford is his house.
Is danger, isn't it?
Yeah.
By the way, we have to ask the question: is it going to work? Is it going to work?
No, exactly.
I'm sorry, but like, Has there been any improvement since he took over from Ten Hag?
Oh no, there's been decline, hasn't there? And I think part of that is because he's kind of viewing this almost as a little bit of a free hit to a degree. I mean, he's playing.
It's not that free.
He's playing Kobe Mainoo as a false nine. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, so that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That.
He's like, I'll experiment now while I can. In
two strikers on the bench.
Do what you want.
But surely, I mean, he can't really put a huge stamp on this team until he's had a couple of windows. Is the prevailing wisdom right? But you're right.
That's total crap.
It's so bad that the danger is that his reputation just tanks, doesn't it? People go, you know what? Actually, he's not. You're not who we thought you were.
The idea. Well, no, I still think he's a brilliant coach. I think Luke said. I'm coming around to Luke's way of thinking. Is nobody can manage this side.
They all do in the end,
and
it's just a matter of time.
Yes, indeed. I'll leave the politics to one side.
Sometimes it's about as much time as continental drift, but it happens in the end.
But I am looking at this thinking, like, Ruben, come the summer, maybe you should move on because you will do better elsewhere. But the point is, though, that people might say, oh, but they need to take time to adjust to his methods.
Look at Arteta. Like, he's the blueprint of giving a manager time. Like, he was almost out the door 3 or 4 times before it started to pick up for Arsenal.
But Arsenal were in a poor place, but they didn't get worse under Arteta. In fact, they won a trophy early on, and
there were 2 8th place finishes, but even that looks,
yeah,
that'd be ideal at this point, wouldn't it, for United?
Yeah, I do get that point. Is that and that's why. So my criticism is not necessarily completely with Amorim, because I think that might be a touch unfair. But I think, yes, of course, if they are given a couple of transfer windows under Amorim, well, and by the way, we one of them just about to shut. But if they're given a full summer and all that, I'm sure they'll improve. But how much will they improve? But also, there should have been some improvement. I think the point I'm trying to make, that most managers come in and it's all over the place.
I would say yes and no to that, and
right.
I would say that the point that's really important when it comes to Manchester United, and I did say they're unmanageable, and I think in the current structure,
it seems to be
the current structure and the current ownership, they probably are. For the reasons we've talked about a million times before. But to me, it's not necessarily transfer windows with Amorim, because I think if you're Man United, it's hard to think of a time when Man United haven't quite consistently been signing players. Yeah. So you'd expect that to continue in whatever form. And I know they've got a PSR thing, and they may move on some academy products, which will be quite tough for the fan base to take. But generally speaking, they do pick up players. To me, the key is what Amorim actually said a number of weeks ago now, where he said, I've got no real time to work with the players. There's so many games. Mm-hmm. He said, give me a chance to work with them for a week, and then we'll see the improvement. And to be fair, off the back of that week, they drew with Liverpool, and it was quite a creditable performance. Mm. I think it's coming thick and fast. I think he's just in firefighting mode, and he's not used to it. He's young. Right. He's had success a lot, but in his young career, United is a far bigger club than he's ever been near before. For me, it's about what ideas he can get them to take on in the summer and what room he's given by the hierarchy to do so. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think the rest of this season is just a free hit. Yeah. He's going to find out as much as he can about the players. And in some ways, you would think like Rashford's probably a lightning rod for that. Mm-hmm. He's learned what he's learned about Rashford. He's had to be fair to him, he's a young man and an inexperienced manager, but he's had the gumption to say, not just to fans, which is hard, and not just to the hierarchy, which again is also hard because they're his employer, but to the player himself, you're not for me. And you don't underestimate how difficult that is against a talismanic academy product.
Who scored goals this season, like Jim said last week?
Under Ten Hag, 2 years ago, he scored 30 goals, Rashford. So he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. It's just going to take a lot of time. Will it work? Maybe. I would actually say probably not, but it might. And I think you have to wait for a clear summer for Amorim, who likes to play in a particular way, a very kind of settled coach on what his ideas are, to make some progress. On the Kobe Mainoo false nine thing, I'll just add very quickly, yeah, it looks ridiculous. It doesn't work. They lose at home to Palace. That's terrible. But from his point of view, he's probably like, well, the season's done. Mm-hmm. I'd love to learn if he can do it in a competitive environment.
He moved him further forward in the Europa League in the week, didn't it? And it worked really well. So
push him a bit further forward.
I know that's probably overly simplistic, isn't it? But that is what he's done.
He looked quite busy, though. I thought he looked okay.
Look, I don't think we're going to see it again.
You probably wouldn't blame the player in that environment.
No,
anyway,
exactly.
Right?
No, of course not. And another real blow for Amorim, of course, is Lisandro Martinez going off with a serious injury because
same knee as well.
He is a player who looks like one of the few players there where you think he would probably be there a bit longer term because he He's a really, really tough defender. He loves defending. He's someone you can rely on in there, and he's one of the few players where you actually think this is potentially a building block rather than someone who's just going to have to be moved on.
Pops up with the odd goal as well, Jim.
He does, absolutely.
He also
now don't get him in the kind of the rebuild almost.
He also plays a lot. He's played 20. I think he's had 20 starts in the Premier League for United this season.
You can't gel the defence without him, obviously.
Marcus Rashford won't be playing again for Manchester United this season and perhaps beyond. He's joined Aston Villa on loan, of course, having completed his medical on Sunday. Unai Emery apparently requested this player in particular to the board,
right,
and is very, very keen to work with Marcus Rashford. And Emery is very, very good at rejuvenating players.
I can fix him.
Yes, and they need a bit of reinforcements and some pepping up. Their Champions League jaunt has taken its toll in the Premier League.
Their Champions League hangovers are a big problem, aren't they?
Big problem.
I think that they're clearly trying to address it with numbers.
I mean, it's basically been the story of their
their
season.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Indeed. So they've been looking at attacking options as well. Joao Felix has been linked.
Asensio's coming.
Asensio's coming, which I think's on paper is a decent signing. But Rashford, he's finally made his move, as I say, albeit on loan. So I think we're intrigued by this, are we not?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, because I was trying to think about this because when's the last time that Rashford was in an environment that's as positive as Villa's is now? I know they're not having a perfect season, but it's far better than what he's coming from, and it would probably be an England squad. So hopefully this kind of refresh will kind of motivate him to give what the manager wants from him, and then we can all see what he's actually like as a footballer these days, because we don't know.
It's big news. It's big news for lots of different reasons. Big news for Amorim taking him on and winning, effectively getting what he wants, getting him out the club. That's big. Now there's nowhere to hide for Rashford. You're going into an environment where he's going to expect to perform. He's probably going to want to play. I mean, all the chat that was, Rashford desperate to play off the left all the time at United. Who plays there most of the time for Villa? Ramsey. Is he an upgrown Jacob Ramsey? Probably at his best. He's
Ramsey's doing okay, but yeah,
but he's definitely an upgrade at his best.
Yeah.
So if he goes in there and plays in the position he wants, there's nowhere to hide. And we'll get an answer to that question that we talked about last week, which is, does Marcus Rashford want to play football anymore? Or does he just not want to play at Man United? And this is a great move for him. Aston Villa, a massive club. It'll come with its own type of pressure, but it's a fresh start, man.
It is.
Did he need something a bit more permanent? Because if he plays well, he's not going to stay there.
It's just not going to happen because of the wages and stuff. Yeah. Villa are already paying like 3/4 of his wages or something.
Which is more than I thought they would actually.
Yeah.
So well done, Aston Villa.
Yeah. And easy access to XOYO as well for Pete's DJ.
Exactly.
Definitely,
All welcome.
Definitely be there for that.
Did you see that Anthony got player of the match in his first match at Real Betis?
Did he really?
Yes.
I did not see that.
He said, I'm going to show Mbappe, Yamal and Vinny there's levels to this game. What is happening over there?
I think, to be fair, you have been showing that for a long time.
It bodes well. It bodes well for Rashford. If you are, well, any kind of player, but in particular a winger, maybe. I mean, look, how good's Anthony Elanga been since he left Man United?
Well,
indeed. Well, anyway, Luke and I will be speaking more about Marcus Rashford's move to Aston Villa over on our Football Ramble YouTube channel. So get over there and subscribe to get exclusive videos every single Monday.
Get stuck into Rashford in a bit more depth. That'll be interesting.
Absolutely. All right, coming up after this, David Moyes keeps working his magic. Everton 4, Leicester City 0. How about that? Abdoulaye Doucouré scored after 10.18 seconds, the fourth fastest Premier League goal ever. What a start! This is what
10.18 seconds, not 10.18 seconds. That sounds mental.
A 1 preceding an 8 is 18 in my book.
Can you read out pie?
Yeah.
Which one? Ham, leek and cheese?
Ham, leek and cheese. That is your first pie you
Sounds
go
good.
for in your mind.
Sounds good.
What's wrong with that? Chicken and mushroom?
Chicken and mushroom, better. That's more standard.
Listing pies. now.
What's the third that makes up your holy trinity of pies?
Well, it's not Holy Trinity, it's just what leapt to mind.
Yeah, I like
so
ham-
steak and ale is another classic.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a kidney anywhere near it.
Would you not?
Really?
It smells of piss.
Not if you have good kidney.
Not if you're nice.
Cook it properly.
Not if you're nice to the staff.
It's an
Bit of bacon in there, lovely.
It's my wife you're talking about. It's an organ for cleaning piss.
Yeah.
It's going to smell of piss.
a fair
You've
point.
got piss in you, right?
I know, yeah, I wouldn't
If you're
want
going to
to-
go
I don't
around
wanna
eating
consume
animals
another animal's
willy-nilly with the emphasis on willy,
Oh, dear.
you're going to get piss in your mouth.
You don't want that, though. It's reasonable to not want that.
Thank you, Jim. I would also add, someone said to me on Friday that they don't drink sparkling water because it tastes of TV static.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
drink?
fair.
Do you drink blood? No. Well, animals have it coursing through their veins and arteries.
I don't know what point you're making here.
I'm just saying that it's the same reason that my partner gets upset about my daughter's snot when snot is very close to the mouth, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you would put your hand near someone's mouth, but you wouldn't put it up their nose. Why? They're exactly the same.
You can't put a
canal.
hand up someone's nose.
No, but you can put your finger,
Hang on.
couldn't you?
Why are you putting
Put your hands
finger
in
in
people's mouths. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, people have a problem putting getting snot in their hands, but spit. Different rules, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Dribble.
I should have just read pie.
Marcus,
Should have just
I'd
read
like to-
pie.
I'd like to-
Marcus, this is not your fault.
Everton fans have waited 50 minutes for this.
I know, yeah.
4-0 win.
I want to talk about Norberto Besique Gomez Benducal, affectionately known as
Okay.
Beto, of
Yeah.
course.
So it doesn't sound like you want to talk
I-
about
I-
it. This is his name.
Because I didn't read pie, I thought I'll read his full name.
Yeah.
Backfired, would you say?
I know. I think it fired very much forward, much like Beto. Doucouré got the game going after just over 10 seconds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll accept that as a compromise. I'll accept that as a Donald Trump tariff.
If so solid crew in the crowd, they're not even on the second member.
They're not.
Love that.
They're not Jim
A couple
Campbell.
of blokes in front of me at Arsenal yesterday walked into the game with no so much as a bye, didn't say anything, after 28 minutes.
Oh, that happens all the time in those seats.
Wow.
It's mad.
Yeah.
28
Sorry, Marcus,
minutes.
carry
Where
on.
have they
What a load of
been?
nonsense. Yeah, well, indeed. I mean, Everton fans are not going to do that because they are free scoring under David.
Well,
Moyes.
they would have missed
As
the
we-
first two goals.
The Moyes.
As we thought they would be under Moyes. Let's be honest, none of this is a surprise.
It's almost not worth mentioning.
Yeah, Everton had failed to score in 11 of Sean Dyche's 19 league games. Do you know what? I watched the highlights of that game and the goals are going, and I was just like, enjoy this, guys.
They look like a different team. It's
goodness.
amazing.
Did it? I just think it's the same shitty football played further up the field.
You're a
It's like it's.
Oh, dear.
It's not. It's
Does anybody
pretty
want to
much
respond
the
to that?
same, but they're just closer to the goal.
Honestly.
Man,
I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy it. I'm just
Peter,
saying.
they've gone to scoring no goals to scoring a lot of
No,
goals.
it's great.
But according to you, that's the
great.
same.
I love
That's
the
same.
idea that Sean Dyche has quite arrogantly, in my view, sat in a press conference and said they should probably get another manager who could take them forward, and they have, and it's really worked.
Yeah.
Guy, it's the most obvious one available, and it's just worked immediately. and it's not been that hard.
Not known for his free attacking football.
no,
is he?
Even he's been talking down the idea of them scoring loads of goals, and he's just accidentally doing it.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
I also would say that we have on this show talked about three things. It's just happened. I remember it happening. One is that Everton were clearly under Dyche far less than the sum of their parts. And if you look through their first 11, even with injury to Calvert-Lewin or whatever, or the fact that he's had several injuries, they're still much better than they've showed. Secondly, that David Moyes is a much better manager than his reputation suggests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thirdly, Beto does look like and has looked. I remember watching his debut, Beto. From memory, I think it might have been against Plymouth in a cup competition, and he looked brilliant. He was everywhere. He's strong. He's fast. Positionally good. And I think it's much more about the environment that he hasn't started scoring goals before this than it is about the player.
Do you think, though, it does help that when James Tarkowski and James Garner suddenly morph into Iniesta and
Yeah,
Xavi?
that's helpful. Yeah.
I'm sorry, those two assists, delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely delicious. Tarkovsky's one, beautiful curl on it, and Garner threading it. I mean, honestly,
It's the very definition of Messi did that.
it is, yeah.
Isn't it about confidence like you were talking about earlier?
But those two, honestly, the assists and matched with the finishes, of course, but glorious goals.
The cherry on top from Njai as well. He's very obviously a really,
Was it quite
quality
calamitous defending he took advantage of? I mean, my goodness, Leicester City, their fans were singing "We're going down" in the opening minutes of the game. They've kept one clean sheet all season.
player. I think they've look. Jamie Vardy said recently that he was confident they were going to stay up, and they need to follow that example. They've got to go full Vardy. Every team they play now has to look over at them at the tunnel, and they've all got to be drinking a Red Bull.
Yeah, what would be helpful though for
It'd be like a
Jamie?
Euronymous Bosch painting if they all go full Vardy. It'd be unplayable.
Is that good or bad?
We'll see, won't we?
Yeah, they won't be able to play themselves. I think it is helpful for Vardy to probably, not do absolutely nothing and be subbed off after an hour after saying that stuff. He needs to, if he's going to say that stuff, he needs to do it on the pitch as well.
He does, yeah.
And he's obviously of advancing years. I mean, I think he's 38 now, and he's 38 last month. So,
Yeah.
so I mean,
But if you look at them in
It's
the
all
table,
about saying
I mean, Everton are 16th, but they're, what are they? Yeah, 9
they're looking
points.
up now.
Yeah.
They're
9
looking
points.
up
They are, but I mean, there are 13 contracts expiring in the summer for Everton. So, Moyes has got a massive, massive job here, and I think that actually kind of underlines what a brilliant start he's had, because this isn't a quick fix, is it? It's really, really important to just like get them away from any sort of relegation chat, steady it for now, and then get on to the next big job in the summer. They've got Calvert-Lewin missing. Dwight McNeil looks like he might need surgery as well. He's a really creative player for them, really, really important, and he's just thriving.
And it's a real problem, them being out of contract, because the main criticism that Everton fans had with David Moyes last time around was when he left, he tried to sign, I think, Leighton Baines and a few other people for absolute buttons. So
he signed Fellaini.
Yeah. And he was on a bit of a raiding mission back to his old club, so they don't want him to do that again.
Do you guys want a downer? How about I round up everything with a little downer and say, unfortunately, I think for those people at Sky Sports who love to talk all this stuff up and get viewing figures out of it, this Premier League season, as much as we want it to be exciting at the end, is going to be just 3 from 4 at the bottom. Yeah. And Liverpool are going to win the title.
They are. Well, and
that's
with Wolves' victory over West Ham, I did a David Cameron there. With Wolves' victory over Aston Villa, again, Wolves have got the best squad of those 4 teams that could go down realistically now, and they showed it against Villa. That quality. The first goal is a lovely goal, and then Cunha whacks that one in.
That little dummy, little shimmy dummy combo.
They have that. They have that. The other teams don't have that.
Was just such a kind of there's only a day left for the transfer window. Come on, what are you doing? I'm still here. I didn't think it was necessary to put the neon light on his head for the celebration.
Well, he did it, but his contract until 2029 was confirmed after the game.
Yeah, but it's got a very gettable release clause that becomes active in the summer, though, isn't it?
2.5 million.
Imagine that. You put the decimal point in the wrong place. It's Marcus trying to read pi.
It's me thinking it was the 90s again.
Yeah.
That's a big fee. That's a big fee if you get that. Whoa.
Maradona only went for 5.
Yeah, so you would really fancy Wolves to kick on. Like I said before, the other teams realistically down there are hoping that Wolves implode, but that performance was just like, oh, bloody hell. Is it outrageous to think Southampton could rally after that victory?
I think it is outrageous, yeah.
Nice to see them celebrating, though.
No, it's not. Obviously not.
A big step towards those 12 points.
Towards what?
12 points.
That's what we should all be fucking gutted about.
It's just good for the South Coast, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're telling me, Jim, honestly, look me in the eye right now and tell me you wouldn't be happy if Southampton didn't break Derby's record.
Of course I would.
There we go then. So it's bad news, isn't it? It's bad news for everyone.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you'll be unhappy, so it's kind of swings and roundabouts.
One thing I forgot to mention about the Arsenal game, Jim, I don't know if you heard it, but at the end of the game, they announced that basically Charlie George, one of their legendary players, is going to be doing a signing after the game. But the way the stadium announcer talked about it sounded like they had signed Charlie George. Don't forget to attend the Charlie George signing. And the bloke next to me was like, he's 74. Yeah. That's not what we need.
Do need a forward, though. Do need that striker.
Yeah.